Man, I'm gonna get
Moving on.
Right.
Moving on.
Let's do it.
2010 recap.
Oh.
So, your Super Bowl champions were the Green Bay Packers, led by their quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
I almost did the belt thing. I refuse. Right. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I must say their run was remarkable because they started the first 4 games of the season without their quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, who we all know
get it in.
what he did. Apparently, you know, that's okay if you've got over a certain amount of money, but that's okay. Good season.
Yeah.
Good season.
It was.
Any disappointments? Any letdown? Any?
Not really. A couple of my fantasy players really let me down, but I don't want to get into that because that's just gonna piss me off.
I let myself down. Backstory: I didn't start Larry Fitzgerald in the semis.
That's his guy.
Versus Deion Branch. I started Deion Branch. He had like 30 yards. Larry had 125 in the touch. I'm sorry, Larry, if you see this. It cost me anyway, so I'm not even sorry.
Patriots was a machine, though, man.
They were rolling.
But Larry is that guy.
We'll get into the Patriots.
Right.
So 2010 recap. Packers win the Super Bowl.
Right.
You want to talk some names or MVP?
MVP. You can't argue with Tom Brady.
You can't argue.
He had a remarkable season. I mean, it was like clockwork. I think they were 14-2. I mean, when you're putting up points at that rate, winning games at that rate,
he was rolling.
And they beat all the top teams. They beat the Packers, who didn't have Aaron Rodgers, but they still beat them. Mm-hmm. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Colts. You know what I mean? They beat all these top teams and went on to get the #1 seed in the AFC.
They did not get it done.
They did not get it. And I was the happiest person to see that.
Versus the Jets. They did not get it done. MVP, I agree. Tom Brady. No question. Mm-hmm. He was throwing to Randy Moss. He was throwing to Deion Branch. He was throwing to Danny Woodhead. He threw one to Bill Belichick. They couldn't count it because he, was a coach. But I mean, it would have. He got both feet down.
Right.
Tom Brady, exceptional. Any other players that stood out to you?
I think Ed Reed, your guy, really.
Ed Reed
was he's an I'm not Troy Polamalu.
He won Defensive Player. This is.
I can understand, but just don't take anything away from Edward Reed.
Ed Reed misses the first 6 games on the PUP list. 8 picks? Was it 8?
Yeah, it was something crazy. I honestly can't remember the exact. It was around 8 though. He had about.
He led the league in picks.
And he missed a ton of games.
6 games!
That's a lot of games.
Shouts out to Ed Reed. You've been doing it for a long time. Hopefully we get to see more of that. I know you were contemplating retirement last year. We hope we don't see it this year. You guys are right on the cusp.
Get a deep threat down there for Flacco. Let's get it.
It was good. It was good seeing some of the new players. Anquan, it was good getting to see you.
Yeah, Anquan. He really helped. When we went to the game in Atlanta, he on the sideline, he was a fire in there, you know what.
They were losing, and Anquan. Yeah. And then he went out and scored. He backed it up, but they lost. They lost because of another player I loved watching this year.
Roddy White?
Roddy White.
Awesome player.
Roddy White. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Roddy White was the best wide receiver this year in football.
His production this year was off the charts. I couldn't believe he was able to keep it up at that rate. I mean, he just had a remarkable season as well.
Yes.
Big up to Roddy White.
Go see, and I actually for the 2010 Fantasy Football Awards, which you can find on ffblife.com.
Yes.
He wasn't voted the wide receiver of the year. That went to the ultimate sleeper of ever, Brandon Lloyd.
Right.
Anybody who had Brandon Lloyd is probably dancing as soon as I said that, but he played the lights out.
Things like that drive me nuts when he's not on my team.
I never have that guy.
The Miles Austin of last year, the Brandon Lloyd of this year, it's like, why can't that happen to me?
Over 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Yes.
And it was Kyle Orton. It was Tim Tebow. It might have Josh McDaniels. I don't know. But for some reason, he was always beating the defense deep. He was always catching it. But he's always been known for spectacular catches, but could never put it all together. This year, he put together one hell of a season. Shout out to Brandon Lloyd.
Yeah.
Anybody else? You know, one thing that bothered me this year.
What's up?
Disappointed. Chris Johnson.
Chris Johnson. But we have to keep.
I'm not disappointed in Chris Johnson. He completely balled out.
He did.
I just felt like when your guys getting 10 carries, 12 carries, and whatnot, it just hurts as a fan. You want to see the players get the opportunity. You know, your favorite players to do the things that you've come to know and love.
Right.
So that was a little bit of a downer. A downer for everybody. Ray Rice.
Ray Rice. That has to. Hassan. Sorry. You still did okay, but man, boy, did you not expect
everybody
that.
took Ray Rice in the top 4.
I would have.
Where in the top 4, I don't know, but you took him in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
You expected him to catch 70, 80 balls, rush for 12, 1,300 yards, and he just didn't do that. I want to say he had one 100-yard game, and that's just not going to get it done. Anyways, so still on the 2010 recap. You had some players jump out, and it'll be nice to see them in the future. Sam Bradford, he had himself a good year. Carried the Rams up until the last day where they couldn't get it done against the Seahawks.
206, baby.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. But I mean that'll be fun to watch, and we can scream now, but we might not be screaming in 2 years.
We might not be screaming next year if they somehow get Julio Jones.
We're gonna